Hey everyone, let's take a look at the Galaxy Explorer by LEGO. This is their Space System series. Set number 10497 has 1,254 pieces. And you can just tell by the spaceship, it looks pretty interesting. And I think 928 is probably the original set that this was based off of. Looks like we got ourselves two minifigures and some kind of drone. And just by looking at the box art, it's a bit on the dark side, but this is giving me 70s and 80s vibes. So, yes, this does bring back some memories. Here's the back of the box, and looks like we get ourselves some various actions, and I'm hoping all this stuff in here is printed. Now, I haven't seen any of the reviews on this set yet, but I've heard that the building experience is pretty good. Well, let's see how well it is. Here it is, the Galaxy Explorer in all its glory. Here we have a set of minifigures. We've got a little all-terrain ATV and some kind of droid with serving cups. I don't know if it's trying to collect rain samples or it's serving drinks, we don't know. There are 4 minifigures in total with this build. And in the back we have the Galaxy Explorer, and we have where it says LL928. 928 is supposed to represent the original build of this set, which was released in 1979. And this model is actually far more superior. We'll take a look at how. Now, all the graphics you see on here are printed. There's no stickers whatsoever. It's a very high-end build, you know, with all the stickers and stuff. And as you can tell, it's very massive. It's about 18 inches, 20 inches, I'm not sure. I didn't take a tape measure and measured it. Got ourselves some rear engines and such. Let's see if I can lift this up without breaking anything. We'll take a closer look at it in a bit. And this model here is actually fully playable. So, in addition to the 4 minifigures, the hatches for the cockpit open up. So, you do have access into the interior, complete access. The rear of the craft can open up. So these right here just swing out of the way. We have a little storage area in here. And a rear sliding door. We'll take a look at all that as well. Lots of detail. And we'll get into the build quality in the latter part of the video. Now, the landing gear is what I'm going to call it. These actually do fold up and down. Let's see if I can get better lighting on that there. Be extra careful, I don't want to drop this. So these actually fold up inside, and these actually fold up flush. I mean, this is pretty seamless, and this one on the front does as well. And pulling these out is pretty easy. You just stick these out like that. For the most part, it's pretty stable. Now, when you're doing this, you want to be careful where you hold on to this. You don't want to start pulling on corners and stuff. It is a very solid build, but you have to be very careful. We'll set that right down in there. We don't need to be bonking somebody's head there. As you can see, it sits pretty flat on the 3 legs. So here's the front cockpit section. The only thing bad about this is there's not any lip to hold on to that when opening this up. And we're going to take a peek in here, and it is completely scaled where you can seat 4 minifigures side by side, and all the instruments on the dash are printed. The only thing that just seems a little bit out of place is these steering wheels. Yes, those steering wheels have been around for a very long time, and I think they could have thought something up a bit better in the interior of that. Now, setting minifigures in here, pretty easy. Just set them on the jumper plates. If I can get him to sit down in here, sometimes you have to wiggle and jiggle a little bit. Maybe just have him slouch to fit in there. But there, he goes right in. think it's the tanks on the back. And there is access under here. I'll take a look at that one. Just getting these opened up is a bit of a chore. And we have some more instruments in the back, and these right here are actually beds. Now there's a hole in the back of the bed, and the reason for this is what the manual said. It's left open for the oxygen tanks. So the figures actually can sleep. So you don't have to take off the tanks. You don't have to keep ripping those off and all that stuff. So they're pretty much permanently fixed to them. And trying to do this here without knocking parts off. It's a very large build. But look at all the instruments. Everything is printed in here. Everything. There's no stickers. We got a little hatch door in the back, probably an airlock, and the interior is just finished off really nice. I got to be careful with this right here. That'll get whacked off. I've already done that a few times. There's a few critical areas in here. And here's the back. I'm hoping we have enough light to see inside of here. So these do open up. Oh, we have the airlock open. Looks like somebody's going to fly out of the back there. So we have a nice door. This actually slides open and close. And in addition, we have two little areas here. Now what goes in here? ATV. So this actually does sit in here. And there's a little bit of a mechanism here you can open up. You can bring this down here. And this 8x16 tile does come out. It tips forward, and this thing does come rolling out. So that's pretty cool. We'll put that back in. There's just so much to talk about on this model, but you can rest that back in there. Close this bottom up. And as for the little robot, the little droid, you can just set him right inside of here for added storage. And this can be closed up. They snap right into these plates with holder, so it locks in place. The engines, there's a lot of detail in this. This is a really nice high-end set. So it looks like we're trying to recreate those old-fashioned loudspeakers that they had on there, except these are all buckets and stuff. Yeah, I don't know which ones I prefer better. We also have some storage areas out here too. So one of these has an oxygen tank. I'm surprised these are not on the inside of the ship. And this one over here is full of some flares or flashlights or something. Those are hard to get out, so I just gotta leave them in there. See, that front part right there is going to get whacked off. I gotta be careful. So it's pretty much the Dyne tour. Here's another critical area, is that these can just pop off. I mean, they literally can just be removed. So it's, for the most part, pretty sound, but there is some areas like these old antennas here you got to be careful and such. So 928, that's printed too. Everything you see with graphics is printed. I'm really particular on that, and this set here is actually an exception to the rules with that. I was actually happy to see there were actually no stickers. Everything's printed. And as you can tell though, everything's fully playable. You can access everything in here. I hope I'm not forgetting any features, but this is heavily detailed compared to the original. Now I don't have the original. I never had it when I was a kid. I'd like to get the original someday to compare it with this. I don't know if I'll keep this model together or not, but honestly though, it's a nice build. Everything is just well thought out. No detail looked like it was going unchecked. I'm actually happy with this build. As for the build quality, it's pretty sound. There is some critical areas, such as these engines. These do easily pop off. You got to be careful. They're not really held in there very well. As well as these sticks, antennas and such. And this front piece here, if you're not careful, this does come off fairly easy. As you can see, this is pretty wiggly. So you don't want to manhandle this too much in the front because that will just come flying off. Also, you may be tempted to pick it up right here. Don't. When I was doing the build of this, I did, and this started coming apart. So you don't want to pick it up. If you're going to pick it up, put your hands underneath and pick it up like this. Alright, so for the most part it is sturdy. The chassis is pretty sound on this. It's just all the extra stuff that will pretty much destroy this build if you don't pick it up from the bottom. Now, did it keep my interest building this? Absolutely yes. I was hooked to this build. It was something, not only nostalgia purposes, from something that was from the late 70s, modernized for today, but this was a very enjoyable build. Now, I'm not a space guy at all whatsoever, but this would pretty much change my mind on the space sets. If LEGO produces more of these recreations of these, I would say that these are really worth it. So if you just find this set, it retails, I believe, for $100. I would honestly say it's a good deal because you get a really good build. The build on this, the build quality on this is pretty good. It's a really good building experience. You get 4 minifigures, you get that off-road ATV thing, and that little droid with the serving cups. But yeah, it's a fully playable model as well, which brings the thing is, can this be played with? Yes and no. Yes, it is fully playable. It's you have access to everything on the interior as well as the rear. No is the size. This is rather big, as you can see. You know, this is a very large build, but it pretty much built to what I call minifigure scale. Plenty of room for the minifigures inside. It's just, I have nothing bad to say about the build quality. It's just really good. Can this be dropped in a LEGO city? If you have a space area in your city, or if you're doing a space theme, yes, this could be dropped in. If you have a small city, I wouldn't recommend it. It's a little on the larger side. Other than that, though, it can be dropped in. Could you add more onto this? Could this be integrated into a mock? If you're building a large space theme, you could. But other than that, though, this is a finished model. This is not half finished. It's not like the back's been left open. This is fully contained. It means that really you don't have to do anything with it. It's perfect. You don't have to add stuff on to finish the build up. I'd say it's really a really good quality item here. It's not cheesy. The designers of this really thought this one out. Even for somebody like myself who's not into space, it's a really well thought out build.